I think every real horror fan has had at least one experience of feeling out of place when compared with quote-unquote mainstream society, but I don't think there's ever really been a good attempt to understand why it is that people like horror. Like, most horror fans are generally normal people who have pretty good reasons for enjoying horror, but what are those reasons? The real reasons, not the ones that they learn to tell people to make society leave them alone. That's what our podcast is about, interviewing people in the horror business to find out what it is that they actually enjoy about horror. My name's Steve. I'm a bit of a psychology buff, and my co-host is my friend Chris, who's a bit of a horror buff. And so far, we've interviewed about 20 people in the business and had a lot of fun with it. We're going to continue interviewing more people, but we also want to share with you some of the highlights so far. In this set of excerpts, we're just going to share some of the fun stuff. If you want to hear the real meat of the conversations, come check us out on Apple, Google, or Spotify, or you can just listen to us on the player on our website. In this set of excerpts, we're going to talk to producer, director, and actress Jessie Seitz, artist, actor, and animator Martin Trafford, and horror fan and half of the Bitches of Horror YouTube channel, Jasmine Martinez. No negative experience in those terms. The only negative, it sounds like, was your reaction to seeing Jaws.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the only, which no one could have helped that, because that's a scary movie.
And because you weren't ready for it at that age too.
You know what you should have done? Dude, just watch the sequels. That will totally break the fear for you 100%. Once you get to Jaws 4, you'll be like, this is the dumbest shit I have ever seen. It's roaring. That shark is roaring like a lion, and because they stuck a flashlight with a blinky thing in it, inside of it, now it can explode. This is dumb.
Funny thing about that, I am actually a huge, huge advocate of Jaws: The Revenge.
Oh, come on, really? That's the worst one.
I love it. I freaking love it. And I'm actually
Michael Caine was in it.
Oh yeah, Michael Caine, who's never actually even watched it.
Really? That's right. I forgot. That was just like a paycheck money movie for him or something.
He's just like, no, I've never watched that shit.
He bought a house with it. That's what it was. He wanted to buy a house, so he made a movie.
Yes.
Made that movie. And I'm a film programmer for theaters when they're open, like ye old movie theaters.
Oh yeah, so you're familiar with the Christies, huh?
Yeah, the Christies and just all of that. And so so for programming, I am always trying to come up with something like clever. And I was like, okay, we've got to start showing Jaws: The Revenge over the July 4th weekend. And my boss at the time hadn't seen that one, and they looked at the stills and they're like, is this a real movie? And I'm like, yeah, it's a real movie.
This is not a Jaws knockoff. They actually made it's in the canon.
I'm like, this is real. It's legitimately a Jaws movie. And I thought I was being super clever, because I'm like, oh man, this could be the next Room, only with Jaws, and it's funny and it buried a franchise and ha ha ha, and oh my God, it was the biggest joke that no one else even cared for.
So you were trying to do a study of Jaws: The Revenge on a so bad it's good angle, like you said, same level as The Room, and everyone else is just this is just a bad movie.
Yeah, they're just this is a bad movie. Did that shark just growl at me? And I'm like, oh my God, it's wonderful. And seriously, to this day, I'm just no. I'm going to get people on board. This is going to be the next cult thing, Jaws: The Revenge. I was like, everybody shows Jaws over July 4th weekend. I'm like, no. We got to show the last one. And so I always push for it, the legitimacy of that terrible, wonderful movie.
So did anybody come see it or no?
Only a handful of people even came to talk. It was honestly one of the worst attended things I'd ever programmed.
I mean, yeah.
They just weren't down for it. I was like, come on, you can drink at the theater and watch this ridiculous shark movie. And they were just not having it. I was like, okay, this will catch on. It'll have its day in the sun.
I mean, I was about to say, you could have a drinking game with this movie with every time there's either a plot incontinuity or something that doesn't make sense in real life, like the shark roaring, Michael Caine's shirt. Shirts usually don't dry seconds after you emerge out of the ocean.
Or the fact that it's like just the premise is just like so wonderful. I mean, it's like the shark like recognizes her, and it's like, oh yeah, that's that shark,
Yeah. Followed her from Amity, New York to the Bahamas, was it?
To the Bahamas, yeah. It came all the way to the Bahamas to find her, I'm like, it's impressive. Come on, But yeah, it's hard to sell people on that one, but that's kind of like my little submission in life. So
Yeah, didn't that have some crossover with the Amityville Horror?
Huh.
Did it?
I don't think it did, but holy shit, somebody should do that now. That's what they should. I heard they're going to do a Jaws reboot. They should just like tie in Amityville Horror, and there you go. You got like a cinematic universe.
Well, that's what I thought the reference to Amity. Well, that's what I thought the reference to Amity, New York was about, wasn't it?
No, I think it's just a coincidence, but I never made the connection there. Yeah, it's like, well, there's not multiple horror movies with Elm Street in it, but where I was going with that, Elm Street's a common name, that's why they used it. But no, I think Amity is a real city in New York, and I believe both movies just happened to base themselves there. Funny.
So let's go back to childhood a little bit more. So we mentioned Jaws and
half hour
Gremlins.
on Jaws. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the Jaws podcast.
Yes, right. Dun-dun. Dun-dun. Did you guys celebrate Halloween over there?
We did. We did as kids. Yeah. We used to get dressed up and go trick or treating with friends.
Do you have a favorite costume?
I did. My mother used to put makeup on us, and I remember once I wanted to be a zombie, so she got one of my stepfather's shirts, and we tore it up and covered it in blood, and it turned out it was his most expensive shirt that he was covered in blood.
Oops.
Yeah. But the deed was already done.
And it wasn't your fault. She made the costume, so you just...
Exactly. A big thing for me was the fact that in the UK we went through the video nasty debacle, and the DPP 39 list, or the prosecutor.
The 139 list?
Basically, DPP 39. It was basically a list of the banned movies, the movies that you weren't meant to be watching or have or sell or trade. That became a shopping list for me, basically. So.
That which is advertised as you cannot have this is what you must have.
Thanks for putting them all on a list for me.
Exactly.
I know, right? These are the absolute worst, most depraved films ever. And this is where you can find them, and they're awful. Do not watch them. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, they were great days with the VHS trading, and yeah, so just collecting things like Cannibal Holocaust, and that's how I found Necromantic as well, the York Butch movie. That was originally, it wasn't on the list. It was banned in the UK, but it wasn't a part of the DPP 39 list. But one of my traders basically said, this German movie, the guy who's real corpses.
Your dealer.
What? My dealer, yeah.
My guy.
My dealer, this guy. Oh, and he was great because he was a Scouse dwarf. So he had a Liverpudlian accent. He was from Liverpool. And he was a dwarf, and he dealt with these videos from the back of his car. His catchphrase was clear as a bell, mate. Yeah, clear as a bell. Because he'd say, is it good quality? Is it watchable? Clear as a bell, mate. And they never were. They were always
advertised as, but not actually.
Never actually watched any of them.
I doubt he did. But yeah, going into teenage years, my drawings were getting a little bit more graphic, I guess, and I remember at one point my mother being quite worried that it was,
the teacher called home. Martin's been drawing some strange things in art class.
Oh, she'd never stopped me from drawing, but I do recall a conversation where she said, "You need to stop doing that."
Just don't do it in public, because I'm tired of getting the phone calls. Like, I don't care if you draw fucked up things like decapitated bodies, but just not at the school,
Just don't have them out like love letters.
They were love letters. This one was a love letter to my teacher. That's why it was the lady who was skewered on Cannibal Holocaust.
That's why I'm holding her beating heart. basically what I do personally is I try and block out negatives, because I don't want that feeling of anxiety or worry, or I don't want to invite misery into my life, basically.
So you watch horror movies?
I know, right?
It makes sense. There's a point. He's getting to it.
I know. I just had to make the joke. Sorry, continue. As you say, some of the things are permitted by society, like throwing up videos of people fighting, and some things are not. It's kind of ridiculous who gets to say what's acceptable and what's not, but we don't have any control over that. All we can do is talk about it and say, we're not that weird. Although I'm saying I'm not, I almost don't want to say this, but I'm not really the big horror fan of the three of us. Chris is the horror fan. I'm more the psychological guy.
I'm sorry, what? I've been distracted. I was watching Peter Jackson put his brains back in his head.
Case in point. Case in point.
That's so Chris. What's wrong with you, Chris?
So
nothing, and that's the point.
While I was still in the States, my friend was going to watch The Exorcist. I think I was about 8 or 9 at the time, and I begged my mom to let me watch it, and she was like, no. And I begged her until finally she said yes, and she said, fine, but don't come crawling into my bed if you get scared. So I was like,
she did
I'm
warn
not
you.
going to be scared. Like,
No.
I went and watched it, came in the middle of the day, came home, I was like, that was nothing. It's nothing. And then night came, and I would not go into my room. Like, I held the door, and I was like, Satan's coming to get me! I'm gonna die! And finally, she let me sleep on the floor in her room. I was always... funny story. I was terrified of robbers for some reason. So I would always... When I went to sleep as a kid, I would lay straight under my my covers, and I would pull my covers up to my right under my chin, so that if robbers came, they would think my head was cut off, so they wouldn't kill me. That was my theory. If I had my whole body under my covers and laid still and just had my head showing, they would think that my head was cut off. And they wouldn't kill me if they came to rob us. For some reason, that was something that...
That sounds like something a child might think of.
Robbers, I don't know, it's very strange. But, I do get comments like, oh, why do you like, gore and stuff like that? And it's just like, I don't know. Whatever I say, I just sound like a psycho, so it's very hard.
Whatever answer I give you is just going to make it sound worse. I like it because it's entertaining. I like it because I like the patterns and the blood splatters. This is not making it better.
That's one of the difficult things about this podcast is, and also one of the reasons that we go through the questions in these multiple phases, because, a lot of people who are really into horror and like these kinds of things, because mainstream society kind of frowns on it, I think most people who are into this stuff start to learn to answer the questions in the socially acceptable way. And sometimes you kind of have to dig to find out what it is that they really do like about it, because the first answers that people tend to give are the ones that, I don't know, I think that, are not going to get them in trouble. You know what I mean?
Like the PC answer, if you will.
So that's another reason to kind of go through it a little bit, so you can get to feel comfortable talking about the stuff, and then maybe, share a little bit.
It's funny, slight side tangent. I know I'm notorious for these, but it'll be quick. One of the other reasons why we also do this is, again, to trigger certain memories that you didn't think of before. And I just realized you're talking about being teased for just being alternative and different and having dark hair, dark clothes when you're in high school. My sister, an older sister, when she was in high school, she went through a goth phase, and I think I was just a stupid, annoying little brother, and I somehow got it in my head that she worships Satan because she wears dark clothing and has dark hair. and I spread that rumor because I was a shitty little brother. But this was in the middle of the 90s, in this satanic panic era, and I just propagated that, and I'm going to call her right after this call and apologize because holy shit, I did that.
Good job, Chris. Good job.
Well,
it's hard. Like I mean, I was a 10. The evil started at an early age.
You were going to say something?
Because I did go into like a Wiccan phase when I was a younger teen. But my mom, being, because we lived in the States, and she was Christian, and she kind of turned non-Christian when she moved to Sweden. I don't know what happened, but America makes you kind of. Yeah, we went to church anyways. So when we moved to Sweden, I kind of I went to Wicca for a little bit, and she actually thought that I worshipped Satan, and I had to like explain to her like, no, like this isn't the same thing, it's very different. But that was like the biggest fear was like, oh, but Satan and goats and sacrificing. It's like, yeah, okay, but
it's not the same, Mom.
So I get that it's easy to connect things with that. But I wouldn't spread a rumor.
Well, it's a sibling thing. Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I do, but I'm the oldest, so I would kick the shit out of them if they did something like that.
Yeah, you were on that side of the fence. Yeah. It's a younger sibling thing then.
So you mentioned some of the things that disgusted you. What excited you about these different things that we've just listed?
Being disgusted excites me.
She was talking about the good things, Steve.
Right? So yeah, come check us out over at horrormakeshappy.com, or check out some of our other excerpts until you find someone whose interview you do want to hear.